I get. I give the most blunt, straightforward, no BS talks. I'm going to tell you what to expect, what not to expect, the good, the bad, the ugly, the awesome, the shit. I'm I'm going to go through all of it. So
Okay, well, thank you so much, Doctor. We're actually live, so Tiffany can go ahead and introduce the session.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another session with Predental Universe Virtual Shadowing Session. I'm Tiffany, one of the students helping facilitate this session today, along with Sherry and Christian. We have an exciting presentation today with Dr. Arcay. And on that note, feel free to take it away whenever you're ready, Doctor.
alrighty. So let me make this a slideshow. And there we go. So my name is Jose Arcay. I go by Joey. I graduated in 2015 from Florida International University down in Miami with a dual degree in biology and chemistry. And I graduated 2020 from NSU Dental down in Fort Lauderdale. So I'm a new grad. And so during the talk, if you have any questions, feel free to jump in, write it in the chat. I'm sure the moderator will get that over to me. This will probably be the most blunt, the most straightforward talk you guys have heard. I say it like it is. I don't feed or beat around the bush. I don't sugarcoat it. That's the way I like it. That's the way I've always been. And that's what I would expect as well from most talks that I think I'd like to get the most out of. The majority of the audience here is pre-dental, so that's where I'm going to gear this talk towards. So again, if you have any questions, just hop in, okay? All right, so about me. I'm 28 years old, very young. It's weird, I'm wearing the same thing in that photo that I'm wearing right now. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. I am Cuban and American. Like how I said, I got my bachelor's in biology and chemistry from FIU in 2015, doctorate from Nova in 2020, June of 2020. Right now, I'm currently running 2 offices in Stuart, Florida, and in Fort Pierce, Florida, for Great Expressions Dental Centers, up until about 10 days. So my last day will be March 18th. And then from there, I'm taking over a high-end private office here in Stuart. It's a big transition. Very excited. And obviously, I love what I do. And we'll talk more about that after, okay? So, pre-dental advice. The first thing that I think is the most important is to make sure you love this. Please pause. I have a dog that has a chew toy, and if I don't take it away from her, it's gonna be the most annoying thing ever. Totally for real. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. She can get wild. So, make sure you love this field. What do I mean by that? Okay. There's obviously 1,000 ways that you can go about picking a career, whether you do medicine, whether you do optometry, nursing, PA, dental. Don't go into dental just because, oh my God, teeth, I love it, good money, blah, blah, blah. That's the stupidest thing in the world to do. Make sure you love this shit, because it can get old very quick if you don't like it. And that rings true for almost any profession out there. It only takes a matter of time before something you kind of like turns into something you hate. So you really have to have a passion when you go into a field like this. And the best way to figure that out is via shadowing. And I'm not talking about shadowing where you go shadow a doctor for an hour and then on the paper you write that you shadowed him for 80 hours. Obviously, it looks good on paper. It looks good for the dental school process and getting into schools. Obviously, everyone does it. That's fine, but do it more for yourself. If you go to shadow, don't shadow just a general dentist. Shadow a general dentist. Shadow an oral surgeon. Shadow an orthodontist, a periodontist. Spend the time to really understand what happens, not only at face value, but what happens behind the scenes. The stresses that come with running a practice, the stresses that come with dealing with patients. People are different. If you're not a people person, you might hate this. You have to, literally speak to 20 different people a day, people who you've never seen your entire life. And it takes a certain type of person to do that. So you got to be true to yourself before you step into this, before you commit, because it's a lifetime commitment. Obviously, you can get out of it and go do something else, but no one wants to waste that kind of time. Okay. So obviously, things which are important, GPA. So every school has their own, rank of what they accept within their own range. A good GPA anywhere from 3.2 all the way up to 3.9, or the superstar gunners who are 4.0, which is great, but it matters. Okay, fact of the matter is GPA matters, and people are going to tell you, GPA is not everything. They look at, everything. So if you have a 2.2 and you're applying to a dental school, if someone's telling you that, that 2.2 is not, it's not everything, they want to look at the entire person. They do, but the numbers matter. When these schools get all these applications, and we're not talking about 40, 50 applications, we're talking thousands. They have to narrow that down somehow. And they narrow that down via GPA, via DAT score, um, you know, and numerically, that's one of the filters that they use. So obviously, being a well-rounded candidate, being involved in the community, having a lot of shadowing hours, good letters of recommendation, maybe some research, all that helps. But I'm also going to be blunt in saying that, some of these numbers matter. And all that also depends on the school. Certain schools, like Harvard, are going to want those 3.9s, those 4.0s with research, and those 28 DAT scores. Other schools, depending on the state, are going to accept, lesser range values. So that comes in, where you apply and how hard you have to work in undergrad. So starting to work hard from now is important because it's going to matter down the road. Okay. Same thing with the DAT scores. Although every school is different, shoot high, work hard now, because all that's going to do is set you up better for the future. Okay. The letters of recommendation are huge. Um, when you start looking for professors to write you these letters of rec, where these letters, talk about you, make sure that it's not a professor you've talked to once in your whole life and you're like, hey, Dr. Smith, whatever, can you write me a letter of recommendation for dental school? That person is going to go to their computer, go to a cookie cutter letter of recommendation template, change the name to your name, and the schools see that. The schools aren't stupid. They do this all day long, every year, with thousands of applicants. So go to someone who knows you, who cares about you, who wants to see you succeed. So when they write that letter of recommendation, it's personal. And the reason why I know this is really important is because at my interview, they asked me about my letters of recommendation with key personal things that only those professors knew about. So I know that they read them, okay? So that's going to be huge. Personal statements. These are, again, really, really, really important. You want to make that impression. Obviously, in these personal statements, you want to convey that you love dentistry, why you want to go into it, all these good things. But don't make it, again, so cookie cutter. Don't be like, oh, one day I woke up and I love teeth. It's good and all, but remember that these people who read these letters and these personal statements do this all day long, 1,000 times a day. If you want to stick, make sure that when you're writing this, you have that little personal twist, so that guy goes, damn, that's cool. I'm gonna probably remember that later. So when they give you that interview, they're gonna remember that. Try to stick out, okay? And of course, be involved. Be involved in the community, the Give Kids a Smile programs. Stay involved, because all that does is make you look good as like a candidate, okay? So let me say it again. Make sure you love this shit, because it can get very boring and very tiring if you really are not in love with it. I have friends who went into this for the wrong reasons. Friends who went in because mommy and daddy are dentists and that's what they wanted them to do. And I've had conversations that they aren't happy. They aren't happy with what they are. And when you go to a school where the tuitions are $300,000-$400,000, it's not something light to take, because once you sign up for it, you're bound to it. That's on you. That's your responsibility now. So before committing to these to this big major step within your life, make sure you love this shit. That's the bottom line. And again, the same thing I said before: shadowing. Shadow as much as you can. And I know that my profile said cosmetic dentist. All right, I'm a general dentist. That's like my official term. The term cosmetic dentist is not an officialized term, but by default, everybody should be a cosmetic dentist. There's no such thing as an uncosmetic dentist. You're not going to go to a dentist who's going to do ugly work on you. So we all should be cosmetic dentists, okay? An endodontist, which is a root canal specialist, an orthodontist, oral surgeon, periodontist, pediatrics, special needs. See as much as you can, because all that's going to do is solidify whether this is right for you or if it's not. And if it's not, that's okay. It's so much better to learn about that now than figuring it out midway through dental school when you're like, oh my God, what the hell am I doing here? Okay. Because again, at that point, it's not too late, but it's a lot harder to turn it around. Okay. Some more advice is choosing the school for you with no outside influence. So what do I mean by that? I know that a bunch of you have the most perfect boyfriend and the most perfect girlfriend of all time, and you guys are going to get married and have lots and lots of kids, and fine. And I know that mom and dad are going to be like, I want you to stay close because mom loves you and dad loves you, and we don't want you more than 10 feet away from us because we love to coddle you and smother you until you die. That has to be put aside. When you start to select your dental school, there's lots and lots of factors that go in. First thing, and probably the most important thing, is cost. In-state schools are normally cheaper, and if they're public, they are normally cheaper. Private schools, very, very, very expensive. If you're going out of state, depending on where you get accepted, that can get very, very expensive. And cost is not everything, but it's very important, because that cost is something that once you sign up for it, you are obligated to pay it back. And that will follow you, whether it's $200,000, $400,000, $500,000. And yes, there are schools out there that are more than $500,000 for those 4 years of love and torture that you'll have to pay back for a long, long time with compounding interest. Ask me how I know. So that's a big thing, okay? Cost is definitely a big, big thing. Location. You obviously have to be happy where you go, because aside from the school, you got to have that mental, clarity, that time to go away and enjoy yourself and have that life balance. So location is a big thing. And again, family. Some family is going to want to, smother you and want to keep you close. Some family you got to get away from. So that's something you have to, factor into when you're picking the school. Also, do you want to specialize? Certain schools, the Ivy League schools, the higher end schools, they are better suited to prepare you to specialize. Clinical preparation, and that's something that you'll find out when you start to delve into each one of these schools and find out what they offer, how they offer you patients to prepare you, for the real world. Boards and licensing by state is also a big thing. So certain dental schools will set you up to graduate by the requirements of that state. So for example, I practice in Florida. Let's say I went to a school in, I don't know, Idaho. If I went there, if the licensing requirements are not the same here as they are in Idaho or in any other state, after you graduate from that state, you have to go through that licensing process for Florida if this is where you intend to practice. So that's kind of something you have to think about. It's one additional thing that you have to do. So staying or going to the school and where you want to practice also makes it easier. It's not everything, but it's something to be aware of. Scholarships, yeah. If you can get a scholarship, awesome. There are some schools which give them, which is awesome. But there are a lot that don't. Dental, for some reason, is notorious for not giving scholarships like everybody else. Whatever. But if you get one, awesome. So that's something to weigh in, and that factors back in with my first point, which is cost. Okay, where you eventually want to end up goes back to the boards and the licensing by state. And when I say cast a wide net, I mean apply everywhere. Okay, don't think you're perfect and apply to only two schools. And if you don't get into those two schools, it's the end of the world. Give yourself options. If you have 15 different places where you apply to and you get into 8, how awesome is that to be able to sit down and select where you want to go based off pros and cons and all this good stuff. Don't sell yourself short by minimizing how wide of a cast you throw when it comes to the application process. Yes, it's costly, but the cost is minimal compared to the long-term return. Okay, so things that are important, very important, the dental school interview. So at this point in the game, let's say you've done the ADSAS, you've applied to all your schools, you have 6 schools which want to interview you, you're ready to go, they want to get to know you. The most important part about the interview is to make sure that you're normal, to make sure that you can have a conversation, to make sure that you fit in this profession. Okay, on paper you're smart enough to be a dentist. If you've gone to the interview portion of your dental school process, you're competent enough to be a dentist. Okay, you have the stats, congratulations. But now the interview is where you have to show that normalcy. You have to be able to hold a conversation, fit in. That's the biggest thing. And what I mean by that is don't be extra. Like, don't go in there and not let your interviewer talk. I've heard horror stories where people go in and they're the one doing all the questions. Yes, it's smart to ask questions to show that you're interested, but don't let your interviewer not get a word in. That only pisses them off. Okay, and they have a lot of people who they get to choose from. You're not the only person in the world who wants to get into dental school. So you got to make a good impression. So ask questions at your interview, but not too much. Yes, I said that, balance. Okay, so one thing which is pretty cool or different about nowadays is COVID. COVID has changed the scope of dental schools for the current D3 and D4 students pretty largely. Obviously, with COVID, the dynamics of the educational process have changed. The amount of time you get to be in sim lab, the social distancing, the amount of patients you are getting, all that are things that have changed the way dental schools work. Ask about that. What has your school done differently, to be able to give us that same, top-notch quality education pre and post COVID? So that's definitely something that I would be asking at these interviews. Something that I didn't find out until midway through my interview process is wear neutral colors. Depending on where you go, I swear to God, I'm not making this up. If you wear red, people will think you are affiliated with a political party. If you wear blue, you might look like you're, affiliated with somewhere else. It's stupid, but it just depends on the interviewer and who gets you. So one way to avoid all that, wear neutral colors: white, black, beige. So that's something that I didn't know until midway through my dental school journey. All right, so you made it to the interview. They just want to make sure you're normal. Already said that. If you're nervous, that's normal. They know that this is one of the most nerve-wracking things ever. And that's fine. You just got to work through it. Best way to work through it, do mock interviews. Have your mom or dad interview you. Have your uncle, a friend, and some places are going to ask you those annoying ass questions. Tell me about yourself. That's the worst question in the world. Or why dentistry? Like, come on, obviously, you know why dentistry. I'm here for a reason. I didn't spend the last 4 years of my life and all this torture to get here for me to explain why dentistry. But some are going to ask it, so have real answers ready, and answer confident, because that's all that they want to see. And when you go on these interviews, hopefully they aren't Zoom interviews, because that's kind of annoying. It's nice to be able to see the school in person, and to tour the school, and talk to the staff, talk to the current students, because they're the ones who are going to tell you like what goes down, like what really goes down. On every website, every dental school is going to tell you that they're amazing, that we love you guys so much, blah blah blah, whatever. Okay, the students are the ones who are going to tell you, this is great, this sucks, this is great, this sucks. And every school is going to have the pros and cons. Every school is going to have the awesome stuff. Every school is going to have the shit. That is the way it is. There's no dental school out there that's perfect. It's just being aware of what's going on and making sure that that's the right fit for you. So let's say you got into dental school. Awesome, congrats. What's next? So obviously, after you commit to a school, there's going to be a lot of paperwork involved, from the immunizations to the new student paperwork. You got to set up your loans and your federal loans. If you don't have loans, I hate you. Good for you. But the majority of dental students will have loans. Welcome to the club. You are going to have to find a place to live. You get to wear scrubs. It's great for about a week, and then it's like whatever. You got your orientation week, and then you're getting ready for the next 4 years of chaos. Fun, awesome, but also chaos. Okay. So, what's dental school going to be like? Let me get these guys out of the way. So, what is dental school going to be like? So, in the sentence, everything there is all the acronyms or adjectives that I could think of. So yeah, it's going to be magical. It's going to be traumatizing. It's going to be awesome. You're going to hate it. You're going to love it. It's going to be entertaining. You're going to want to rip your hair out. It's going to be challenging, and it's also going to be very, very, very rewarding. And it's true. It's going to be all those things and probably more. Dental school is a hell of a ride, and it's a hell of a ride wherever you go. It doesn't matter what school you go to. You're going to experience the ups, downs, and all the sideways, and everything in between. So get ready for that. Dental school will stress you to your limits, both academically, physically, and personally. And what do I mean by that? So when you're in undergrad, things are different. You're taking 5-6 classes, class at 9, a class at 11, or maybe you're good with your schedule and you have it all crammed in. Dental school's classes from like 8 to 5, like bombarding of crazy amounts of information, is not necessarily harder. It's the volume. It's the volume of information. So you can compare that to undergrad being like you are drinking out of a hose versus dental school, you're drinking out of a fire hydrant. It's just a lot more to take in a lot shorter period of time, and I'll talk about that more. You will break down. You will cry at least once. If you don't cry at least once, you're not human. You have no soul. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen whether it's academically or whether you're in the sim lab or you fail a class. And if you fail a class, you're normal. You're human. You're going to fail. And if you've gone through 4 years of undergrad not failing anything, good for you. Awesome. We hate people like you. Congrats. Dental school will probably change that for you. If it doesn't, we still hate you, but congrats. But it's normal. It's part of the process. Okay. So expect it. When it happens, it's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean you're not a good dentist. It doesn't mean you're not going to make it to the end. It just means that you hit a bump in the road, and you're going to have a bump, 3 bumps, 5 bumps. Depends on the person. Unless if you're perfect, then you don't have anything. Good for you. But it's going to happen, okay? And when you go into dental school, don't go in there with such a strict mindset, like I'm gonna be an orthodontist. I can't wait. I'm gonna straighten teeth. I cannot tell you how many people went in with that same mentality, and after 4 years, they completely switched to like oral surgery or pediatric dentistry. Um, you won't know your first year. You know, the only information you have on knowing what field you want to go into is based off of shadowing, and shadowing will show you a lot. You'll get a lot of that visual information, but until you're doing it, until your hands are deep in someone's mouth and you're dealing with all that crap, you're not gonna know. And that's what dental school's for. Dental school is there to not only teach you everything you need to know to be a dentist, but it's also there to expose you to every field there is. And you will deal with pediatrics, you will deal with orthodontics, you will deal with periodontal surgeries and root canals and fillings and crowns and veneers. You'll do all that. By your fourth year, that's when you know. End of third year, beginning of fourth year, that's when you've been through all the fields, you've delved into it, you've seen it, you've worked it, and that's when you kind of know. Have an open mind. You're not gonna know shit your first year. It's true. You don't know anything day one. You will know more stuff by your third or fourth year. Okay. Let's see. Next slide. All right. So here are a couple photos from my dental school. This is the rare occurrence where we're all smiling. We're all happy. So this is like one of the ups, and you'll have many ups and you'll have many downs. But yeah, we're all happy on this day. On the left side was the Give Kids a Smile Day, where we treated a bunch of children and pediatric patients for free, and the school, covers the cost of all that. On the right side is my clinic team, with the two doctors who I learned everything from. Oh man. Okay, so this was one of my patients, and you will see some weird things. Okay, yes, what you're reading on his shirt is a joke, but there are some weird people out there, and you're gonna see it in dental school, and you're gonna see it after, and you're gonna see it for the rest of your life. As a dentist, you will see, and this is me only speaking with hardly a year's worth of experience straight out of school. I've seen so many different types of people, and that's what you have to be able to do. You have to be able to speak to every single type of person, no matter what race, what color, what ethnicity, what gender. It doesn't matter. When you're a dentist, you treat everybody. So you'll have the funny, you'll have the asshole patients, you'll have the people who love you, the people who hate you, the people who are shy, timid, anxiety, and you'll learn to be able to modify the way you interact with all these different type of people as time goes on. And dental school kind of teaches you how to speak to these people in different ways, and how to engage them, and how to hold a conversation, because that's the most important thing, be able to speak to a patient. No one wants to go to a dentist who doesn't speak to you, just like open your mouth and drill. That's not real life. On the right side is my dog. That's one who was squeaking 5 minutes ago. I got her during dental school. Crazy decision, but I did. She was one of my bright sides during dental school, and it worked out because I lived right across the street, so I was able to be home and take her out and all that good stuff. She's about 120 pounds now. This is when she was cute. Now she's a monster. But yeah, this is a little bit more of my dental school. On the left side, again, is that Give Kids a Smile Day we did. On the right side, this is us in Jamaica. So I was the president of the mission trip organization at Nova for about a year and a half. And we organized trips to Jamaica, to Puerto Rico, to the Dominican Republic. This is one of the best things I did. Most schools, if not all of them, offer some sort of international mission trip, thing. Do it and be involved in that, because you will learn so much from these trips. When you come back, you feel confident, you feel great. So that's definitely, one of the biggest takeaways from my dental school experience. Obviously, that's me thinking I'm cool and with that pose. That's us again on the trip. We had a good time. You also have to have fun. when you're in dental school, okay? Dental school is not all about, teeth and academics. Yes, it's obviously very, very, very important, but you got to have fun. You have to have a balance. And the left side photo, that's my heart and soul. These friends are lifelong friends of mine, and they will be lifelong friends of mine. They're the reason why you stay afloat. And when you get into dental school, this is a point that I forgot to make. Everybody's on the same page, okay? There's no more competing. Stop that crap, okay? When you're in, make friends. Make friends and keep friends. There's no need for someone to hold out test notes or, who has the better study guide, because all that's going to do is hurt you. Having people who you can rely on, that day that you forget to go to class and you need someone to sign you in, that's why you have big groups, and it's going to happen the same way it happens in undergrad. It's going to happen in dental school. These people are there to pick you up when you're down, and when you're down, or when you're up and they're down and you have to pick them up. That's what it's all about. If it wasn't for that solid group of friends, it would make the experience a lot tougher. Okay, so obviously when we're going into these programs, we're best of the best, and put that aside. Put all the egos aside. Everyone's on the same page, same slate. Be nice. There's no need for any of that animosity or that gunner mentality. There's enough of that already. Having a good group of friends is only going to help you. Okay. He's gonna hate me for putting this in here. On the right side, this was class one day. Some guy lost a fantasy football bet, and he came to school in a dress. So yeah, we do some wild stuff as well. Okay, we didn't get in trouble for that. And obviously, towards the end, you're gonna graduate. This will probably be the most proud day of your life. I have gray hairs from dental school. It doesn't show, but I have gray hairs that I did not have there 4 years ago. But you'll get there, okay? So what is dental school going to be like first year? So before I say any of this, I know that curriculums have changed. And the reason why they've changed is because the board exam, I forgot the acronym. The board exam for dental licensure went from being a part 1 and part 2 to being an all-together board exam. So knowing that, I know that some of the school curriculums changed a tiny bit. So take what I'm going to say now with a grain of salt. It could be the same or very similar, but it could also be a tiny bit different, okay? So like I said, it's like undergrad on steroids. It's like drinking out of a fire hydrant. You were going to study more than you've ever studied before. And again, it's not harder. It's just a lot more, okay? So what does that mean? You have to study smart. Obviously in undergrad, because I was there, I wanted to know every single detail of every single fact and every single proton and the hydrogen and the organic chemistry and blah, 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 and the SN2 and the SN1 reaction. Disgusting. That's important to know, but study smart. Obviously, professors are going to want to emphasize certain things that are important. Focus on that. The first year is mainly academic, and a tiny bit of a hands-on. You will definitely, pick up a handpiece and do a lot of carving and wax and wax up some teeth and make models and stuff like that. So that's what the first year is like, okay? Oh, also, before I move on, obviously it's important to get good grades. That's huge. But also when I say study smart and not hard is, keep in mind that a lot of the stuff you learn in your first year is mainly for the boards. It's mainly for that licensure exam. And what I mean by that is you're going to take a lot of basic sciences again, biochemistry, what's the other one? Genetics. You're going to take microbiology. A lot of that stuff you will never use again. The same way how undergrad, you will probably never use it again. Ask me how many times I've used the word phospholipid after school. Never, okay? There's a lot of things that you're never gonna need to know again. So obviously, if there's a course teaching dentistry, pay attention to those. Those are things that you'll probably need to know after you're out. if you're talking about, the Krebs cycle, learn it, get an A on the exam, and delete it from your brain. You're not going to need to know what the Krebs cycle is. Okay, so that's again a study smart, not hard tidbit. So the second year for me was a nice change. It's about 50% academic, and the academic changes from more of like basic sciences over to more dental related. So it makes it more interesting. And then 50%, hands-on dental work. You'll get to learn how to, make dentures and make partial dentures and prepping crowns and doing fillings. That's the fun stuff. Okay, it's a lot more physical because it's a lot more hands-on, and you start to learn like how to take X-rays, giving cleanings, taking impressions. You'll get to pick up a needle, and that first time you give the injection, your hand's going to be doing this. That's normal. My hand was doing this, and my partner was like, "Dude, get away from me." It's normal. It's fun. It's exciting, and it's part of the process. And you also get to take impressions. I'm a gagger. It's the worst day of my life. This is why I like digital dentistry, because we get to scan everything now. But that was not a fun day for me. Third year is when you finally get into clinic. You get to finally start interacting with patients. It's obviously exciting. It's obviously scary. You don't know what the hell you're doing, and that's normal. It's normal to not know what the hell you were doing. Every single step of the way, you're gonna feel like, what the hell am I doing? And that's fine. That's why you have the students in the class above you to guide you, and that's what they're there for. The faculty is also there for you. Okay, don't be scared to ask faculty for help. They're paid to be there, and there was a lot of times where students were afraid to ask certain faculty for questions out of fear of getting yelled at. That shouldn't be a thing. Unfortunately, every school is different. Every faculty member is different. A lot of these faculty, unfortunately, they're old. And you know how old people are. Some old people, they're kind of nasty because that's just the way it is. But they're there for you. And they should be there for you. And there should be zero tolerance if you're lost in something and you need guidance and you need someone's advice, for them to be able to help you without fear of going to them. That's BS. And if that's an issue, you should tell your admin. Whether they do something about it or not is a whole other story. But the school should be there for you, okay? In third year, you're going to start off slow, treatment planning, fillings, crowns, stuff like that. And what I'm going to recommend when you get into clinic is do as much as you can, okay? Every school out there is going to have a minimum set of requirements that they need to give you that piece of paper that's like, hey, you're a doctor now. You're a DMD or DDS. Good for you. Well, that piece of paper is only there to signify that you know the bare bones minimum to be a dentist, okay? Certain schools, because of COVID now, for example, have dropped their requirements to graduate dental students down to like, I don't know, 6 crowns or 7 crowns, 4 or 5 dentures. You're not competent after 4 or 5 dentures. You're not competent after 6 or 7 crowns. So when you get into that clinic environment, obviously requirements are something you have to hit to graduate, but don't look at it as like, I hit it, now I can stop. Look at it as, I hit it, and now let's do as much as I can to learn as much as I can to get as competent as I can. So when I get to the real world, I know what to do. Because no 2 patients are the same. No 2 crowns or no 2 fillings or no 2 veneers or no 2 dentures are the same. Obviously, the more you do, the more you'll know and the more you learn. So don't hit the brakes as soon as you're ready to graduate. On the contrary, step on the gas. Do as much as you can. Milk your school. Damn it, if you're paying $500,000 to go to this school, you better get as much as you can from them. Because the day you graduate, every school is going to tell you, we love you, we want to see you succeed, blah, blah, blah. No, they want to give you an alumni t-shirt and ask for your money and donations till the day you die, okay? That's what, it's the reality. Obviously, some schools are different. I'm just speaking based off experience. But do as much as you can for you, because the only person that you're going to help is yourself. Okay. Fourth year, which is what I was talking about. The main goal is to get all of your requirements finished. You start to prepare for your dental boards and the licensure exam. You got to graduate, which is awesome. And then you got to figure out whether you want to practice or specialize. Towards the end of third year, beginning of fourth, that's when you start, that job hunt process. You want to be a general dentist and start working straight out of school. Maybe you went through school and you want to be a general dentist and, you want to get a little bit more experience. You're not as confident. Everybody's different. There are programs out there called AGDs or GPRs where you can get that one extra year of like intense clinical training. And that's where you get to brush up on all of your skills, which will give you that upper hand when you get into private practice. Again, that depends on the person. If you were able to do a lot in school and you feel confident, then you can, essentially go out straight from school and start practicing. Let's say you want to specialize, around that time, third to fourth year, that's when you start to realize, I kind of like, braces. I like kids. I like special needs patients. I like oral surgery. Then it's the application process all over again. The interview process all over again. God, thank God. Thank God I didn't do that. But, everyone's different. And if that's what you want, and if that's your calling, and if that's what you love, then do it, okay? So there's many factors that go into that. So that's basically my spiel for the pre-dental talk. If there are any questions, please, ask them. I'm not going to chop anyone's head off. No question is stupid. I want to make sure that I can answer as much as I can, as real as I can, as blunt as I can. So that way I leave no question unturned, okay? These are just a couple of my cases. I'm not going to dive into them. I'm not going to talk about veneers or preparations or CBCT. I'm not doing that. I'm just going to show you a couple things of what I do. And this is the nice part of dentistry. You get to take a mouth like that and turn it into a mouth like this. This is why I do it. I'm obsessed with this shit. I'm literally obsessed with what I do. And I'm a nerd. On my Instagram, which I'll put towards the end of the slide, I post everything I do daily. From my stories to the types of patients that I deal with, my before and afters, my personal life, my dog, everything. It's all on there. And this is what I live for. So this was actually my office manager. So right now, before I'm leaving, everyone wants to get all their work done. We did a bridge and 2 veneers on her that she didn't think she needed. And, we changed her smile completely. She looks like a completely different person. And this is just a couple teeth on her right side and just the 2 front teeth with a little bit of whitening. This case is a full mouth reconstruction. This one I actually did in dental school. I got very lucky to do a big case like this. It's rare to be able to do a case like this, but it was my stepmom. So she trusted me, and we completely changed her smile. She had a lot of dental phobia. She had not been to a dentist in 6 or 7 years. And I finally convinced her to get in that chair. We had to almost strap her in, and we changed her smile. Now she smiles in photos. And, it's that before and after, that look on that patient's face that makes it worth it. Obviously, you got to go through all the crap to get to this level. But once you start doing it and start seeing your work from before to fruition, that's when it makes it worth it. Again, here's another patient. She was in a bad car accident, wanted to have her smile fixed. This is how she left after just 2 weeks. Here's another patient of mine. I think she ran into a door and her front teeth were all wobbly. That's how she left after we were done. This case I just finished about a week and a half ago. Young kid, my age, turned his life around, was involved in some stuff, and he trusted me. He trusted me like, hey man, I want to turn my whole life around. I want to start with a brand new smile. I want to gain that confidence. And he's like, what should I do? Cost is not a factor. Just make me look good. and he trusted me. When you do these big cases and people put all their trust in you, you got to deliver. You got to deliver because it's your name on all this work. And it took about 3 months to do his case from beginning to end, and that's how he turned out at the end. And he's now a lifelong patient. This is something simple. Someone who had no teeth before, and we made her a simple set of dentures. And from before and after, it's a big change. Quick set of dentures. This guy is yikes. Lots of problems there. We did a full mouth extraction, took everything out, and same day he got dentures. So he came in like that and walked out like that same day. So yeah. So thank you everybody for joining tonight. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them. If you want to see some more stuff, the good, the ugly, the bad, the pretty, the bloody, I post a lot of bloody stuff. So if you like it, it's going to be there. This is where you can find me. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to take them now.
Thank you, Dr. Arcay, for all of the great advice and for a rundown of what dental school is like holistically. With that said, we have a few questions in the chat for you, if that's all right.
Sure.
Okay, cool. So the first question is, how did you determine which dental schools provided patients for you or which ones you had to find yourself?
So that's a question that you're going to need to ask at your interviews, okay? Each school is different. So the schools in the metropolitan areas like NYC, Tufts, BU, they have programs within the state that allocate all those patients, and they're basically assigned to you. So that makes life easier when you get into clinic. You don't have to stress about finding the right patient and, I need X amount of dentures and X amount of crowns and X amount of fillings. But again, that varies by school. Where I went to school, they gave us a certain amount of patients, but definitely not enough to fulfill graduation requirements. So that put a lot of stress on the students in terms of finding the right patients to get all the requirements needed. So in terms of knowing that information, people will write about it in the forums. So Student Doctor is a great resource. Anything and everything you need to know about a school is going to most likely be there. Anything you don't know, you ask it at the interview or you ask it by the current students. And they'll tell you straight up how you go about that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Arcay, for answering the question. Another question is, how do you show your personality during interviews?
How I show it?
Yes.
Obviously, I've dropped a few bad words here tonight. That's just the way I am. Don't do that. Don't do that on an interview day. No, oops, screw this one up. When I interviewed, it was very laid back. I'm going to take that back. I'm going to talk a little bit about my interview. So when I interviewed at Nova, for example, it was very laid back. So from the get-go, I knew that there was nothing to stress. I didn't have to, be all like cookie cutter and uptight, which was nice. It was more like a conversation versus an interrogation. There are certain schools that I went to where I had 3 or 4 people staring at me and asking me rapid fire questions. Why do you want to come here? Why dentistry? What made you choose this? Blah, blah, blah. And obviously that kind of hinders your ability to, converse and have a nice, calm and chatty conversation. And that varies by school. In terms of portraying your personality is take a breather. And when they ask you stuff about like, why dentistry, tell them, I chose this, obviously, I love this profession. I've spent enough time shadowing. I've spent enough time asking questions where I wouldn't be here wasting my time or yours if this wasn't for me. And they like to hear things like that. If they ask, tell me about yourself, and your first response is, I love teeth, or I love this field because it's what I've dreamed of my whole life. Everyone's going to say that, okay? Calmness. find that balance of showing how much you love it with how real it is. Okay. I tried my best to answer that question, uh, but my short answer is be real. Be real when you're asking and answering all these questions, and also show interest. So when the interview starts happening and they're asking you a few questions and you're asking back, don't ever let the interview go quiet. Don't do that, because then it just gets awkward. No one likes a quiet interview. It's like weird. You guys are staring at each other, flicking the pen. It's it gives me anxiety just thinking about that. Ask about the school. Ask about COVID. Ask about, do you guys offer the opportunity to go on mission trips? I like to be involved. Tell me what you guys have for that, and that can spark a great conversation. So yeah, that.
Thank you, Doctor, for a great presentation. Another question we have in the chat was, do you have any advice on how you managed your time and retained course material?
Yes, time management is huge, especially the first and second year. Studying is going to be your entire life. Get used to studying. 8, 9, 10 hours straight. It's going to be a slap in the face of reality after undergrad, and with undergrad it's not even a comparison. In terms of time management, but the way I did it, obviously sometimes you are going to need to study on weekends. That's absolutely normal. But make sure you dedicate time to unwind, you dedicate time to de-stress, and you dedicate time to yourself and to have fun. You will literally lose your mind if you are all about grinding and studying and 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you don't have that time to unwind, unclick. Obviously, time management is something you got to be good with. Knowing what exams are coming up, when, in what order, so you know when to study, how much of different exams to study for at the same time. You might have a huge test on Thursday and a not as hard test on Friday. So when you go to study, make that proportional. Study more for that huge test, study not as much for that easy test. So when you get to that Thursday, Friday exam, you're good for both. Don't go crazy for Thursday, forget about Friday until after Thursday's exam is over, you're dead. And then you're trying to cram, Friday comes around, and it's like, oh shit, blank, and then fail. So, time management is huge. And again, when you start, you're going to be in the same boat with 100 people, 150 people. You guys will figure it out along the way together. That's the whole purpose of, again, why I said, make friends, make lots and lots of friends, because all that's going to do is help you along the way.
Thank you, Dr. Arcay. So a follow-up question to that. So how did you deal with burnout or prevent it?
That's why I said it's very important to give time to yourself, okay? Burnout's a thing. Burnout is literally a thing. And there are a few times going through school where, you are slamming your head on the desk, like what am I reading? Reading the same sentence or the same PowerPoint 1,000 times and nothing's going in. That's the time you got to step up, walk away, drink a beer, something, because that's the beginning signs of burnout. And too much of something is not a good thing. You got to have balance. All right. Obviously, teeth and, the beauty of dentistry is going to be your life, but it's not everything. Even now practicing, dentistry is my life, but it's not everything. I dedicate my weekends to me and only me. And I go out on the boat and I enjoy time with my dog and I go on hikes and I spend time with my family. On Saturday and Sunday, do not talk to me about teeth. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about fillings. I don't want to hear about crowns. I don't want to hear about veneers, because you have to have that mental reset. So when you come back on Monday, you're ready to go again. You're kind of excited to start back. It gets overwhelming, and dental school will overwhelm you a lot. That's why I stress the point of making time for yourself. No matter how much shit is going on, make time for yourself, okay?
Thanks again, Dr. Arcay, for answering the question. Another question is asking, in regards to the mission trip, were you part of any initiatives that helped undeserved communities here in the US?
I was. So when I was in undergrad, I was part of a group called Alternative Breaks. And that's an organization that I think runs nationwide, where instead of, spending your break on spring break or summer break, you spend that week in a different country helping the underserved. So we spent a week in, I believe, the Dominican Republic. Yeah. And we went on an educational trip. We worked with the students. We taught them, a bunch of things on bettering themselves. We designed, course formats and curriculums. So yes, I've always been involved since the beginning. It's just something that I like, and I carried that on into my profession. I carried that on into dental school, where I was the president of the Mission Club, and we did a lot of great things. I think we treated in that Jamaica trip, we treated almost 1,000 patients, which is insane. And now that I'm out in practice, obviously I'm busy as hell. I'd like to go back to that a little bit and maybe go back to the school and be one of the chaperones for that trip and be like one of the doctors to help out, because I love it. It's one of the most rewarding things that you can do. Take someone out of pain, and what better way to do it than with the profession you love. So yes, I've definitely been involved for a long time.
Thanks, Doctor, for that response. Another question we had was, do you mind sharing why you decided to go to NSU out of all the other dental schools, and like what made you go there compared to the other dental schools?
So NSU was not my top school. I interviewed to a bunch of schools and I got into 4 or 5 different schools, and I chose NSU probably for not the best reasons, which is why when I gave all this information at the beginning of the chat, make sure that you choose the school for you. Make sure that you choose a school without outside influence. Those are important things. Have I made stupid choices? Maybe. I'm not going to go into those stupid choices because I have enough regret. But it doesn't mean that NSU was a bad school. NSU, on the contrary, prepared me to do so well. And I'm grateful for Nova. Nova, they really, really made me. I take that back. Nova gave me the building bones to be what I am now and what I'm going to be in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years. Every dental school is going to give you the same structure. They're going to teach you how to do a filling, how to do a crown, how to do a denture, they're going to teach you all that. Every school is going to teach you that. What determines whether you go from that basic bare bones level to I'm a freaking dentist or I'm a badass dentist is all on you. So when I gave that point about, when you're in clinic and your graduation requirements say you only have to do 7 crowns or 30 fillings or 40 fillings, whatever, that's just the bare bones number. Take it to the next level. Do as much as you can. Again, milk that school for the money you guys are paying to be there. Because everything you do will translate into how good you are after school, how comfortable you are after school. So why I chose Nova? Personal reasons. Am I unhappy with it? No, because I'm exactly where I want to be now, and I couldn't be happier. But again, dental school is all about you and what you make out of it. And that's my answer for that.
Thank you, Dr. Arcay. So the next question is, how did you usually recover when you failed a class during dental school, or just deal with failure in general?
Cry. No, I'm just kidding. So failure is going to happen. You're going to fail something. And like I said before, if you don't fail something, I hate you. Everyone's going to hate you, but it's fine. It's normal. It's a normal part of life. You are going to be juggling so many things between sim lab projects and studying for histology or anatomy or microbiology or biochemistry at the same time. Somewhere along the way, something's going to give. Okay. And that's not even considering your personal life. What happens if, you have something in your life going on? It's normal. This is life. It is normal for someone to fail something. And if it happens to you, you're going to get up. Yes, you're going to be pissed off at the world. Yes, you're going to tell yourself, I'll never be a dentist, blah, blah, blah. It'll pass. Get back on the horse and keep going, okay? Getting knocked down and staying down and being depressed, whatever, is not going to help you, okay? Which is why I like to say this ahead of time, so that when it does happen, you know that it's coming. You've heard it from my lips. Everyone trashes something at some point, okay? The academic gurus who get to read, 80 pages and they have photographic memory, those are the ones who are going to get hundreds on all their exams. Good for them. But when you get to sim lab and your hand skills have to come out, maybe they suck. Or maybe they need a little bit more work with their hands. Everyone is going to expose themselves at some point along the way within dental school, because you aren't tested only on your knowledge. You're tested on multiple things, on your hand skills, on how creative you are, your artistic side. It's not how well you can memorize the Krebs cycle or photosynthesis or whatever. You get tested on an array of things. Some things you're going to be great at. Some things you're going to suck at. And that's normal. That's part of the process. Are you going to stay sucking at it forever? No. That's why you work at it. And then eventually you get better until you finish and graduate and you move on with your life. But yeah, if you fail, it's normal. Just don't stay failing. All right. Don't fail a class and then fail something else and then fail something else, because that's just going to snowball effect into some annoying stuff that you have to deal with after. Remediating a class, or God forbid, having to repeat a year, which happens. It happens. There's always one or two, hopefully it's not you, but it happens. And that's my answer for that.
Oh, thanks again, Dr. Arcay, for your answer. The last question we have today is, did you ever consider specializing? And if not, what deterred you from doing so?
So, I love all aspects of dentistry. I love them all. I love oral surgery. I love periodontics. I love prosthodontics probably the most. But I kind of figured around my third year, general is where I wanted to stay. Not because a general dentist means that I don't have to deal with 3 more years of school or 2 more years of school, whatever. But because I like variety. And every day is a different day for me. I can start with a filling in the morning, a crown prep right after, denture right after that, full mouth extraction. Every day for me is different. Every procedure is different. Even the array of people that I see are different. As a general dentist, you see everything. You see orthodontics, you do Invisalign, you see cosmetic cases, you see extraction cases, kids, and I like that. I like having variety. I don't like doing the same thing over and over again because I get bored. I get bored very, very easily. So obviously, there was one field that I thought about specializing in, which is prosthodontics, and that has to do with like big prosthetic cases, dentures, full mouth rehabs, implants, the all-on-4 hybrid dentures, and all that fun stuff. But it's not something that I wanted to delve in three years of my life into. And eventually I'll be doing cases like that, those really, really high-end cases. But as a general dentist, I'm glad that I chose this field because I'm very happy with where I'm at.
Thank you, Dr. Arcay. So unfortunately, that's all the time that we have today for questions. I just wanted to thank you so much again for taking the time to be here today and answering all of our questions. For those of you guys who joined today, the link for the post quiz will be posted on our group me, and tune in next time for our next session. And thank you again so much, Dr. Arcay.
You guys are very welcome. Take care, everyone. Nice meeting you all.